Guys, what's prompted me to make this video is I opened my phone the other day and I saw a clip of a mom and a baby in a car trying to drive through a city with some freaking riot going on. And the people like pulled her out of the car and were like beating her up and stuff. And I really like looked at my phone and I put my phone down and I was just thinking like, okay, like everyone talks about the fall of America, the fall of Rome, fall of empires and stuff like that. And I don't know, guys. I normally make positive videos. I normally make uplifting videos, but in this one, I'm going to tell you why I believe society is crumbling before our eyes, and quite frankly, why this isn't the future, that this is the fall. Right? I don't know. The world isn't evolving; it's rotting, and the scariest part is we're acting like it's all fine. Right? People getting pulled out of their cars and beaten is normal, right? Opening up Instagram and just seeing people getting murked is normal. Corn is normal. Men are lost. Women are angry. Families are broken. Prices are up through the roof. Values are down. And quite frankly, nobody can look each other in the eye anymore. It feels like society is crumbling, and it's because it is. Right? So I feel like we're living in the final chapters of a great empire. And I feel like the lights are still on, but the foundation is cracked. And most people are just too dang distracted to notice or too numb to care. Like, guys, I am victim to this as well. So I'm not trying to act like I'd never do this, but have you noticed how addicted people are to their phones? Like, it's crazy to me. Like, I actually had a conversation with my girlfriend about this recently because like she came over and we were hanging out and she was just on her phone a lot. And I like mentioned something to her. I was like, hey, like, if we're going to hang out, like, it'd be cool if like, we could just hang out, me and you, and like put our devices down for a little bit. And at first, like, she kind of like took offense to it. But like now we're at the point where we like make time where we both like put our phones away and stuff every now and then. Right. But like I go out to eat and I look around and people are just on their phone, like sitting at the table, like not even talking. They're just scrolling. The kids are on the iPads. Even the parents, even boomer parents are addicted to Facebook now. Like it is crazy to me. And, everyone talks about the fall of Rome, like, and I see like videos about it. I wrote down here some similarities that I just thought of that I wanted to share with you guys and why it's actually like more alarming than you guys probably think. So, right. So in ancient Rome, right, they always talk about like the bread and the circuses, free food, entertainment to pacify citizens. Modern society, we have TikTok, we have NFL, DoorDash, we have P-Hub, OnlyFans, all that type of stuff. In ancient Rome, they had the moral decay, they had the loss of traditional values. Well, in modern society, modern America, we have hookup culture, breakdown of families, fatherless homes. So we're not too far off. And in Rome, they also had economic inflation and over-reliance on slave labor. Now, modern society, especially ever since 2020, printing money like crazy, debt slavery, credit card debts all-time high, auto loan debts at all-time high. People can't even afford to buy cars. They can't afford crap, and a gridlock government. And back then they had foreign invasions, they had internal division, and now we have, damn near the same thing. Cultural divide, mass immigration debates, tribalism, and even back then they had elites out of touch with common citizens, and now we have billionaires in bunkers like Zuckerberg, while average people can't buy a home. And back then they had apathy, they had obsession with pleasure, and now we have people who are obsessed with instant gratification, dopamine addiction, and doom scrolling, like I just said. And like, it can't be good to go your whole life with your neck looking down. And that's one thing I'm just realizing, like when I walk around, the amount of people I just see constantly looking at their phone. Like I literally witnessed this kid, like this was probably like 2 weeks ago. I was getting groceries at like this, it's like an outdoor shopping mall, like where I live. I was getting groceries at this place. I was walking back to my truck and I literally witnessed a kid. He's probably like 16, just casually just walk across the street, just didn't even look if cars were coming, bro. Like he literally was just looking down on his phone the whole time when he just crossed the street. And I'm just like, dude, that's crazy to me. Like, that's crazy. And I don't know. This is going to be more of like a ranty video here, but I mean, guys, if any of you guys are listening to this, like, let me know what you think. Like, do you think that society is falling? There are times where I think that we're doing good and things in that nature, but then like I also just look at the facts too, right? The nuclear family is dying. People are obsessed with doom scrolling in their cell phones. They're obsessed with watching porn. They're obsessed with eating crap food that's not good for them. And it's just bad, right? There's so many addictions that we normalize in modern society. So I just want to preface this before I kind of get deeper into this. If you do any of this stuff, like I'm not coming at you, like everyone can do what they want, right? If you're a gambler, you drink, whatever, that's fine. Like me personally, like I drink too. Like I'm not saying I never have a drink or anything like that. But I do think that if you have an addiction or you have something that's getting in the way of your normal life, definitely should at least think about it, right? But I just want to preface that before I get any deeper. But, sports gambling, for instance, at a surface level, I don't have a huge problem with. Like, I'm not someone who gambles. I've never made a sports gamble in my life, and I probably never will. Only reason I won't personally is because I know myself, and I don't have a lot of self-control. So if I were to gamble, like I'd probably want to do more and more and more. And I just think it's crazy that like we used to have sports growing up, and like you would watch the teams play, and now like gambling is so pushed on every single sport. And then also there's like former players in commercials talking about like, yeah, my picks are this, my picks are that. Like, it's just so weird. It's so pushed. And then we have Korn and OnlyFans robbing real intimacy. And probably 99% of dudes like got exposed to Korn at some point in their life, whether that was high school or grade school, whatever. But I mean, dude, I have seen like YouTube videos about like whatever the topic is. And then like, I'll go to the comments. There are kids that talk about being like 10 years old or 8 years old being exposed to this stuff. Like, that is so bad for you. That is so bad for you. It's like, it's crazy, right? There's already so many problems in dating too, right? Because think about it. There was a whole study done, I believe this was like a year or two ago, and they talked about on Joe Rogan how like 68% of men between 18 to 30 are single, while only 35% of women are single. Now, the data could be a little loaded. For instance, that could consist of maybe women dating multiple men. Maybe that's also just girls saying that they're in a relationship, but they're really not, right? So like the data could be a little off, but generally speaking, men are definitely worse off, at least younger men in the dating market. And as they get older, they tend to have a little bit easier time, I would say. But overall, my point is like, you already have a society filled with lonely and sexless dudes. You know what I mean? A lot of them are out there. And then you have a society where there's fatherless homes. Then you add on the crazy push of Korn and OnlyFans. Like, you're just creating an environment that robs real intimacy and real like relationships. And this is the problem, is because like everyone is so fed up and like so used to like all these different addictions and vices that like they're not able to actually fight for the relationship anymore. Like, how many times like you see a couple like start dating and they break up like shortly in because they think that, and I notice this with a lot of girls. I'm not saying this is the case all the time, but I notice a lot of girls, at least younger girls, will say that like, oh, like marriage, like I just want to be happy, and like that's fine. Like, you should want to be happy in marriage, but you do have to understand that like there are going to be arguments, there are going to be things that you have to talk about, and you're going to have to work through them, and that's part of having a healthy relationship. My relationship is great. Me and my girl, we work through stuff, right? But like a lot of people don't understand that concept, and I think a big part of the problem is men and their addiction to Korn, and then also women and their addiction to all the stuff they grew up watching, right? The Real Housewives, all these crazy real estate shows, they're reading these crazy fantasy books of like dudes banging them, right? Like, there's all the like women, like they have this crazy high standard because they see all this stuff online, and then they actually meet a dude and like they don't think he's like shit. Excuse my French, but so I think there's problems with both men and women, right? But together, it creates like this volcano that's going to erupt. And then, given the fact too, you have this constant dopamine overload from TikTok, scrolling, vaping, drinking, and we've been replaced meaning with stimulation. And then you have the death of love and gender division. Dating is transactional. I have a video talking about this a little bit ago about, is love dead, right? Dating has become more transactional. It's not emotional. Women feel unsafe. Men feel unwanted, right? Both are lonely, bitter, and competing instead of connecting. And that's the problem, because when you're in a relationship, what happens is like if both people are not getting what they need or they don't feel heard, it just creates this like double-edged sword is the wrong term, but it's creating this environment where like it's just going to keep getting worse because like you're going to build resentment, right? And then it's just going to get worse and worse and worse. And, how can we build families when we don't even trust each other? That's the problem, man. Like so many people got so many issues and it's so hard to just trust people nowadays. And then on top of that, you have economic collapse in slow motion. Like you literally, like people just cannot afford to live right now. Housing is unaffordable, even with 2 incomes. Food prices are up, wages are stagnant, college debt, jobs with no purpose. We work more and have less, and we still feel like failures. And that is one of the biggest issues right now. Like I've realized with myself in my own personal life that, I've worked my tail off and I've, gotten to this point where I'm at least semi-comfortable, right, with a good paying job. And like I paid off all my student loans and I really hustled from starting a landscaping business, getting into sales, all that type of stuff. Like I definitely have done what I can. But I'm just thinking to myself, like, how are people affording to live? I had this thought the other day where like you take like an older couple, right? Like maybe our parents, for instance, like they literally bought a house making less money than some people make now. But because they bought it at like a 2 or 3% interest rate, they can easily afford this 300 grand house. Whereas people now make like 100 grand and they still struggle to get a house just because of the interest rate. So it's just crazy phenomenon. And then, given the fact that we live in a society that you pretty much need cars to like get around unless you live in like New York City or something, like the car market's crazy. I don't know if you guys have been keeping up with the car market, but like, I mean, new trucks are like 60 grand. Like it's crazy, And, if you're watching this video, I would definitely recommend buying a used car for sure, but it's one of those things. It's like, okay, well, if you buy a used car, you better know at least somewhat mechanically inclined things, unless you're going to buy something kind of in the middle, right? But, you have housing problems, you have car problems, food. I mean, food is wild. You know what I mean? Like, I remember back in the day, you could go out to eat with like, you could take a girl out to eat back in the day and it'd be like $40 or $30. Hell, $20, right? Like now I feel like if you go out to eat, you're spending like $70 to $100. I literally took my girlfriend to a Mexican restaurant yesterday, just like a little Sunday, dinner. I ordered a quesadilla. She ordered chicken and rice and we both got one margarita. That was it. One margarita. And then I got a quesadilla. She got chicken and rice. With tip, it was $87. It was like 72 and I tipped $15. Like, dude, that's insane. Like, I'm sorry, but that's crazy. You know what I mean? So, we have economic collapse in real time. We have the death of love and gender division. We have the addictions that are normalized. And we also have mental and emotional breakdowns. Depression and anxiety is an all-time high. I said this in a previous video, but I do believe that our parents' generation had it hard on the body, but easy on the mind and soul, where we have it easier on the body, but hard on the mind and soul. I can't speak for myself because I've done physical jobs, but like for most people, like, a lot of times with remote work and, these more white collar jobs, a lot of kids nowadays have it easier on the body, but I mean, have you noticed just like the very, very large increase in suicides, especially among young men? It's honestly kind of like sad, like even just bringing it up, but like there's a big problem going on with depression, anxiety, people having trauma. There's no brotherhood anymore. There's no purpose. There's no higher meaning. And there's just numbing instead of healing. Like we've removed faith from the schools. We've removed fathers and friction. And we wonder why men feel lost. And it's something I'm really passionate about. And this is one of the reasons I started this channel, because I do want to help. I mean, I want to help people in particular, even women, but especially young men. It's something I'm passionate about is kind of helping them. And there's just a lot of mental problems right now. And I do think a lot of that comes from the corn addictions, the problem with dating, the economic collapse and slow motion, and quite frankly, just how crazy the world is. And I think a lot of times we've confused progress with decay, right? Like we call it freedom, but it looks like loneliness, we say that we're evolved, but what we've lost, what makes us human, right? We're almost like robots, our society right now. We're so lonely. We're so apart from one another. And everyone just is just so disconnected. And this isn't the end of the world, but it might be the end of the world as we know it. And that's something I think we have to come to terms with. I don't know what's in store. I don't know if AI is going to take over. I don't know if they are not going to take over. I don't know if the world's going to collapse or maybe we're going to be in prosperity. One thing I will say, though, to end on a semi-positive note, is I do think that something has to crack, right? You can't have a society where like literally no one can afford houses like forever and like it'd be okay. Like something has to break at some point. And I do think that empires don't fall overnight. They do rot slowly until they collapse at once. And if you're feeling this unease, this anger, this sadness, it's not weakness, right? It's just awareness, right? If you feel a certain way, maybe you're just more aware than the people that don't see it. And if you're listening to this and you're like, wow, like I see some of the stuff that this guy's saying, and I've been thinking this myself. What I would say to you is you're not crazy. You're not crazy, bro. You're just awake. You're just aware, and most people aren't. So I want to ask you guys to jump in here. Let me ask you guys, like, what's one thing about today's world that you think is completely insane, but everyone acts like it's normal? For me, I would say it's probably the corn addiction. I would probably say it's, how high of a standards people have been dating, as well as the, crazy push of monetization and all this type of stuff. Or not even monetization, but just like advertising, like even in video games. Like, have you guys noticed how crazy like video games are now? Like, I mean, back in the day, you could literally buy a video game, pay $60 or $50 and then play it. Now it's like you got this whole battle pass system and just all these microtransactions and all these freaking stupid skins of like unicorns and shit. It's just crazy. But I do think that there's a lot of insane stuff in today's world, especially with like, the riot stuff I was talking about earlier, especially with the economic things, the mental illness stuff. But, listening to this, guys, like, what was one thing that you think is completely insane, right? What's one thing that you think is like, wow, this is a problem? And do you believe that we're too far gone, or can something still be rebuilt? That's one thing I'd really like to hear you guys' opinion on. I'm somewhere in the middle. I do believe, and I have to believe, that we can rebuild, but I do think that it might be different than what we thought. But drop your thoughts below. This is a little bit longer video than normal, but I really wanted to come on here and talk about some of my thoughts with society. And I want to hear from the ones who still think, and the ones who are listening to this. And, if we're going to survive the fire, we'll need to rebuild it together. So I appreciate you guys watching. If you got any value out of this or you like this type of content, please consider liking and subscribing. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Level Up Strategy out.